Hello everyone. I am on my lunch break and I thought I'd make a video because there's something that I want to talk about. So I'm titling the video Colonialism and Depression. And so this video is really for BIPOC, or in other words, Black, Indigenous people of color. That's who's going to identify with it most. But I feel like anyone who goes through colonialism, because it's still happening, we just live under the guise that it isn't at this time. When you see wars happening and this country in particular, the US, going into other countries and telling people what they're going to do and when they're going to do it, that's colonialism. When you see them saying that someone's a dictator and they need to take over, that's colonialism. And it's also the cause of why we have so many refugees and so many immigrants in this country, is because, you know, as their little form of reparations, they bring people here like this is the best place to be, right? So I want to talk about, first of all, like, your culture is your nourishment. And especially in a melting pot society where you kind of go to, you know, a school, or you go, I wouldn't say church, but I would say more so school, when you're being socialized, right? As a young child, you learn that your way isn't the only way, or the way your family does things isn't the way that everyone else's family does things. We all might speak different languages. I mean, we might eat different food. We might have different customs and different mannerisms, different ways of being, different slang and all of that. But the culture that you're raised in, it is your nourishment because it's your roots. And the problem with colonialism is when you take a people and you rip them up by the roots and place them elsewhere, or you take a people and take the roots and cut it off and separate it, then that person no longer has the nourishment that it needs. And so you have people who feel the need, majority of people do, obviously, because it becomes a point where it threatens your survival if you don't assimilate. If you don't assimilate, I mean, employment is a thing, right? You gotta eat, you gotta survive, you gotta have shelter over your head. And there's just, like, especially in this culture, just this one way that's accepted, this one there's an airport close to here. Anyway, there's like this one accepted way of being, and then it's like, if you're not that, then you aren't you aren't it. You aren't you know, inside the loop, in a sense. And right, so even when it comes down to, like, Black history, it's like, why our history got to be separate when we're American, when we're born on American soil, and the people who contributed what they contributed, they did it right here. Like, why is it not taught as regular history? Everything is supposed to be so white, like everywhere you go. And it's sickening, and it's detrimental to people of color when we can only be ourselves in one place, which is at home. And then some people, it's like, you even destroy your homes with colonial ideology. I was listening to this podcast, and this Indian nutritionist doctor, she said that she went back to India to, like, remote villages, and people were no longer eating the indigenous food that grows there because they want to eat apples and bananas, because they see Americans eating apples and bananas. And bananas don't even freaking grow here. Like, they were denying all these foods that were, like, highly nutritious and free to them, like growing in the wild, things that had been eaten for hundreds of years. And then people will starve or be embarrassed. She was like, people would put their food away when she came in and things like that, like not believing her that it was still nutritious and good for nutritious and good for them. So it makes me think like we even do the same things with our homes. Like Jesus, when I was growing up, animals were outside, and it's an outside thing, and now it's just like everyone has a pet. And not only do they have a pet, they have a pet like inside. Like people don't care that dogs sleep on their bed, and I'm just like, that is I mean, I used to be like, oh no, black people don't do that, but that's not even the case anymore. Black people do that, and I'm just like, what is wrong with y'all? But it's that being pulled up out of the root that destroys us, because more importantly, the spiritual side of it. Like, okay, your food, yeah, you can get sick from not eating what you should be eating, right? A lot of the food that they serve isn't real, right? It's processed and it causes issues. We all know that. But when it comes down to spiritual practice and certain practices not being accepted, it hurts us, and it hurts us in deep ways. And it seems like a stretch, but I really feel like it destroys the psyche. I feel like it's a big cause of mental illness, and a big ass cause of depression, to not be able to be yourself. Actually, I feel like depression is that alone, is that by itself. It's the concept of who you are isn't what you should be, and so you shouldn't be. And so you feel depressed because you feel inadequate, or you feel depressed because you know that you're not going to measure up. But like, why is everybody trying to measure up to these standards that are pointless, that aren't even made for you? They're made by some other people. Like, it's different if you don't measure up in your own culture, feel some type of way, but like, damn, like, I do feel like it's a big cause for depression for people of color, and it's hard to stay out of that. Like, it's hard to not be depressed because you're constantly forced to dip in and dip out. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like code switch. And in order to survive, you're kind of forced to like do whatever when you go to work so that you make your money, right? You're forced to shut up. You're forced to compartmentalize yourself sometimes. And kind of like be more private than what you might be willing to be. You might want to share information, but you know people don't relate to it, so you know, you don't share those things. I definitely feel like we're in a time of change. I'm not saying like depression goes away right away, but we're in a time where people are being more accepting of other cultures, and the idea that there isn't just one American culture, especially, you know, with mass immigration to the US. So I just wanted to talk about that because I think that is something that we don't attribute depression to. The fact that we do so much code switching. Like, I don't think it's natural for the spirit. I don't think it's natural for our growth and development to consistently deny who we are, or, you know, switch around. I don't do a lot of that. I'm quite quiet into myself in private, and so people see that, and that allows me to keep myself sane, if that makes sense. But other people who I think are more extroverted and more social, you do it more often, and I think that's the main people who like go home and feel empty inside, you know. But that's all I wanted to talk about. I think my time is up. I'm not sure. So let me get back in here. But if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and comment below as well, you know, if you have some opinion about it as well. Have a great day.